In the depths of Moria, beneath tons of ancient stone and shadow, a moment of destiny unfolds. The Fellowship stands frozen as Gandalf the Grey faces the Balrog of Morgoth, a creature of fire and darkness from the world's beginning. But imagine, for just one heartbeat, if the wizard had made a different choice. What if, in that crucial moment, instead of crying, "You cannot pass," he had whispered something else entirely? The ring. It calls to me. Today we descend into one of Middle-earth's most terrifying alternate realities, a timeline where the wisest of the Istari, the Grey Pilgrim himself, succumbs to the very corruption he was sent to prevent. Welcome back to our exploration of Tolkien's Legendarium, where we uncover the darker paths that Middle-earth's greatest heroes might have walked. Before we venture into this shadow realm of possibility, tell us in the comments, from which corner of our world are you watching tonight? Are you joining us from the Shire-like hills of New Zealand, the ancient forests of Northern Europe, or perhaps from distant lands that Tolkien himself never imagined? Your presence here in this community of lore keepers and myth weavers makes these journeys all the more meaningful. And if you're ready to delve deeper into the mysteries that Tolkien left hidden between the lines of his masterwork, consider subscribing to join our fellowship. Each like you give helps us forge new paths through the unexplored territories of Middle-earth's infinite possibilities. To understand the magnitude of this alternate catastrophe, we must first revisit what Gandalf himself understood about the ring's nature. When Frodo offered him the ring in Bag End, the wizard recoiled as if from a venomous serpent. "Do not tempt me," he cried, his eyes flashing with an inner fire that betrayed both his power and his fear. "I dare not take it, not even to keep it safe. Understand, Frodo, I would use this ring from a desire to do good. But through me, it would wield a power too great and terrible to imagine." Here lies the crucial insight that separates casual fantasy from Tolkien's profound mythology. The ring doesn't merely corrupt through evil desires, it perverts noble intentions. It takes the very virtues that make someone heroic and transforms them into instruments of tyranny. For Gandalf, whose compassion for Middle-earth ran deeper than the roots of the oldest trees, this made the ring not less dangerous, but infinitely more so. Yet in our alternate timeline, something changes. Perhaps it's the weight of countless ages spent watching civilizations rise and fall. Perhaps it's the growing awareness that the age of men approaches, and with it, the diminishment of all things wise and beautiful. Or perhaps, in that moment beneath Moria when death beckoned, a whisper of desperation finally found purchase in even the Grey Pilgrim's adamantine resolve. To truly grasp the catastrophic implications of Gandalf's fall, we must journey back to the timeless halls themselves. The Istari, Gandalf, Saruman, Radagast, and the two blue wizards were not mere mortals granted magical powers. They were Maiar, lesser spirits of creation who had sung in the music of the Ainur before time began. When they accepted their mission to Middle-earth, they voluntarily limited their power, taking on vulnerable forms that could experience hunger, weariness, and most crucially, temptation. This self-imposed limitation was not arbitrary, but essential. Only by truly inhabiting the conditions of those they were meant to guide could the Istari understand the nature of the struggle against darkness. Yet this very vulnerability that made them effective also made them susceptible to corruption, as Saruman so tragically demonstrated. But where Saruman felt a pride and the desire for order through domination, Gandalf's temptation would follow a far more insidious path. Picture the moment. The Balrog's whip has caught him, and as he falls into the abyss, the ring carried by Frodo far above suddenly seems like the only hope for Middle-earth's survival. If I perish here, the thought might whisper, who will guide them? Who will oppose Saruman? The ring could give me the power to end this war swiftly, to spare countless lives. This is the ring's most sophisticated trap. It doesn't appeal to base greed or simple lust for power. Instead, it offers the terrible burden of necessary action. "You alone are wise enough to wield me justly," it would whisper. "You alone love Middle-earth enough to make the hard choices others cannot." This scenario bears haunting parallels to the fall of Numenor, where the greatest civilization of men was corrupted not through weakness, but through the perversion of their very strengths. The Númenóreans fell because they were powerful enough to believe they could master death itself, wise enough to think they could improve upon Eru's design, and noble enough to convince themselves their rebellion was righteous. Similarly, Gandalf with the ring would represent the ultimate corruption of wisdom itself. Where Sauron ruled through fear and offered power to the ambitious, Gandalf would rule through love and offer salvation to the desperate. His tyranny would be the most terrible kind, the kind that genuinely believes itself to be mercy. But let's trace this catastrophe to its logical conclusion. Unlike Sauron, whose rule was sustained by fear and whose power diminished with distance from Mordor, Gandalf's dominion would spread through genuine affection and trust. The hobbits would follow him out of love, the dwarves out of respect for his friendship, men out of gratitude for his protection. Even the elves, recognizing his Maya nature, might initially mistake his transformation for a necessary evolution rather than corruption. Consider the cruel irony. Middle-earth might actually experience an age of unprecedented peace and prosperity under Gandalf's rule. Wars would end, hunger would be abolished, disease might be conquered. The very real benefits of his reign would make opposition seem not just futile, but morally wrong. Who could argue against such obvious good? Yet beneath this golden surface, the deeper corruption would spread like a poison in the very foundations of reality. Free will would gradually become meaningless, as Gandalf's wisdom proved invariably superior to individual choice. The diversity of cultures that made Middle-earth so rich would slowly homogenize under his gentle but inexorable guidance. The elves' time to depart would be indefinitely postponed, not by choice but by Gandalf's loving insistence that their wisdom was too precious to lose. And here we arrive at the true horror of this alternate timeline. Sauron's evil was recognizable, his tyranny obvious to all with eyes to see. But Gandalf's corruption would wear the mask of perfect love, speaking always in the gentle tones of a grandfather who knows what's best for his children. His subjects would live in a paradise that felt increasingly like a beautiful cage, their very thoughts slowly aligning with his will until they could no longer remember what it meant to choose their own path. The professor understood this deeply. In his letters, Tolkien wrote that the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and that the corruption of the wise is always more terrible than the simple evil of the wicked. Through characters like Saruman and the specter of Gandalf's potential fall, he warned us that the greatest dangers often come not from those who hate what is good, but from those who love it so much they would preserve it at any cost, even the cost of the very freedom that makes goodness meaningful. This is why Gandalf's refusal of the ring stands as one of the most heroic moments in all literature. It represents the ultimate wisdom, recognizing that some victories come at too high a price, that some powers are too dangerous to wield, regardless of the nobility of one's intentions. Tonight, we've walked through one of the darkest alternate paths that Middle-earth might have taken, and perhaps we understand a little better why Gandalf's greatest act of heroism wasn't wielding his staff against the Balrog or leading the charge at Minas Tirith. It was saying no to ultimate power when it was offered freely. These are the kinds of deep explorations that await us throughout our journey into Tolkien's Legendarium. If you're hungry for more hidden truths and alternative histories of Middle-earth, check out our playlists exploring the secrets of the Silmarillion, the mysteries of the Blue Wizards, and the hidden connections between all of Tolkien's works. Each video is a new path through the vast wilderness of possibility that the professor left for us to explore. Until our paths cross again in the halls of memory and myth, may your own journey be free from the subtle corruptions that would make prisoners of us all, even in paradise. Farewell, friends, until we meet again in the undiscovered countries of imagination.